Hi there, Henry Byer here with Strong for Life. I got a chance to shoot a video outside. It's springtime, the sun's out. It's a little bright for me to see the screen, but I could just make myself out, and hopefully the light works well enough, the natural light works well enough, so that it's not too over the top with this video shooting on my iPhone. So in today's video, we're just going to give you a brief introduction on how to do the kettlebell swing and show you a couple of exercises that you can do to perfect your technique. Now, the swing is an awesome exercise because I think it was Dan John that said that the swing is a fat-burning athlete builder. And I'd have to say it is one of the best exercises that I can recommend because it is not only a full body exercise, but it's also a ballistic, explosive exercise, and it's training our most powerful human movement, the hip hinge, which is this movement like that. So it transfers tremendously over to so many different types of activities because of its development of this hip hinge. Now, it also works your posterior chain, your hamstrings, your butts, the extensors of your back. So it's great for developing posture. As I said, it's good for developing cardiorespiratory endurance, and it will improve your grip as you move into heavier weights. And I think you'll be pleased to add this tremendous exercise to your toolbox of exercises that you use to improve your health and fitness. So, what exactly is the swing? Now, there are different types of swings, and the one that I'm going to be showing you today is known as the hard style swing. So, what is the hard style swing? Well, let's begin with the top position. The top position is a vertical plank. So if you imagine doing a plank on the ground and how tense your body is to hold the proper plank position and just turn yourself into a standing position, rotate yourself, lift yourself into a standing position, that is what the plank is. You're in this top position with a two-hand swing. Your hands are out in front. You're completely tensed from your neck down. Your glutes are squeezed tight. Your quads are tight, pulling your kneecaps up. Your abdomen is braced as if getting ready to be punched in the stomach. Your arms are fairly loose, and you only need enough grip to hold, not to let the kettlebell fly out of your hands. And that's the top position. The bottom position is this classic athletic stance position. Imagine you're like the shortstop, right? This is the bottom of the hinge, the bottom of the swing, just a little bit more exaggerated than you would be in the shortstop position. It's also your deadlift position, and the classic hinge position is the bottom stance, and your arms are back here behind your legs, like that. In between your legs, your hands are behind you, and your weight is in your heels, and you're going up and down like this. It's an explosive movement up. The weight comes down between your legs, and you explode up. So that, in essence, is the kettlebell swing. Two positions, the plank up here and this bottom hike position. It's a squatty shortstop position. It's imagine you're hiking the football. You're the center of a football team, and you're hiking the football between your legs. Boom, like that. That's the bottom position. You're just moving from here to here. Explosive. Boom, like this. Okay? I mean, that is the swing in a nutshell. You can, so with that in mind, let me just demonstrate a couple of kettlebell swings with a kettlebell so that you can see it in action. And then we'll talk about a few ways to practice to do some drills with this. So I won't even talk about the stance. I'm just going to do it. And that's the swing right there. And you can use different size weights, and we'll talk about weight size at the end of the video. And your form should generally look like what I was just doing to do the hard style swing. Though your body proportions, your body height, the weight of the kettlebell that you're using will all dictate what your swing looks like. Some people might have a little bit more squatty like swing. Some people are going to have a more upright swing. Depends on, as I said, body positions. Depends on the weight, how high the kettlebell comes up. Depends on the weight. Whether you extend your arms or keep a more bent arm swing will also dictate how your swing looks. But in general, the movement is the plank up here, down, boom, like that. Okay, so let's go over a couple of things that you can do to help learn the different positions, right? I mean, the plank position, you could get down in a plank to learn this. Your heels are being pushed away from you. You're squeezing your quads. You're squeezing your glutes. You're bracing your abs. And you're just holding this rigid, straight position. That's it. That's what the top is. Boom. Right? The bottom of the swing tends to be a little bit more challenging to learn. A common mistake with the swing is to confuse it with a squat. And what I mean by that is that when you go back into the swing, what people do first is they sort of sink down. Their knees slide forward, and the bell comes down kind of low here. So they're kind of doing this sort of thing, which you're getting the hip hinge, but you're in this more squatty position, right? And it's not as powerful. The swing, the hips go back in the swing, back in the swing, like that. And it's not down like this. So that's one common mistake. And there's two different ways to sort of learn that, position. The first is, or one way, not the first way. One way you can do this is to use something like a 2x4. If you don't have a 2x4, you can use a couple of weight plates. Then if you have one of these exercise bands, this is good to use too, because it'll help you learn to push your knees out. So one other piece of instrument here is this is a slightly lighter kettlebell. This is a 12 kilogram kettlebell. Because you have your feet up on the plate. Having your toes up on the 2x4 will help prevent you from sliding forward. Having the band around your waist, your knees, is there to remind you to push out your knees to the side. You don't want your knees collapsing in. You want your knees tracking over your toes. And then you push a weight this could be a dumbbell or whatever, kettlebell, depending on the weight that you have. You might want to use a dumbbell if you only have a slightly heavier, if you have a heavier kettlebell. But either way, and then you just push the kettlebell or weight into your waist, and it forces you to hinge at the hips. This is an excellent way to get a feeling for this, because it's hard to push those knees forward doing this. When you just do it this way, you learn how to hinge without your knees sliding forward. And you'll feel this all back in here. And then you just kind of do some reps like this. Oh, and almost, like I did it so strongly, almost pushed me over. So that's one way to learn how to do the kettlebell swing. And I learned that one from Dan John. Now, another way to learn how to do the swing is I'm using a chair here because I'm outside. You can use a wall is a really good way to do this. So you stand a certain distance from the wall, and then you sort of karate chop yourself in your hips, and keeping your knees, all you're doing is pushing your hips back until they hit the wall, and then step a little forward and push. The whole idea here is just to move your butt backwards. And each time you do it, you have to hinge more at the waist to hit the chair, in this case, or the wall. And this way, you just keep moving, and as you do this, you'll notice, see, I had to go almost all the way down here to get there. But my knees are still pretty vertical. My back is flat. And I'm totally hinging here at the hips. It's a pretty deep hinge right there. My toes are coming off the ground. My weight is in your heels. You'll notice that both of these exercises, having your feet up on the 2x4 or some weight plates, pushes the weight back onto your heels. And in the swing, you want your weight back on your heels. So, those are two different excellent exercises to practice. Like beforehand, if you're new to this, as you just get in your stance, push your hips back, boom. Just do that practice, step forward. Well, there we go, a little bit further. Got a little bit further to hit it. And the one thing about this chair is it's sort of angled that way. So as I step forward and I'm hitting the chair lower and lower, it's actually going forward, and the chair is just making it further and further apart, like that, back up. So those are two ways to learn how to hinge, and just practice that. Because like the thing about it is, if you stand here and you squat with your knees, it's harder for you to get to the chair, especially as you get further away. If you're squatting with your knees, in order to hit the chair, you have to move your hips backwards. And so using the wall teaches you how to move your hips backwards. A third point to keep in mind about the swing, it's like a deadlift in which you want to keep your back straight. Now I have a piece of PVC pipe here, but a broom handle works just as well. And if you hold this on your back like this, as you do your hinge, you want the broomstick to stay in contact with your lower back, your hips, and the sort of middle of your back, because that's sort of the spot where it's going to hit. It kind of hits your head, the middle of your thoracic spine, and your butt, and as you go down, you're just maintaining that position. So this exercise just helps you train a flat back, which is what you want, like that, okay? So those are 3 different exercises that you can use to learn how to do the hip hinge. And if you have access to a lightweight, you can begin your swinging with a 2x4 like this, and it'll teach you to keep those shins vertical. That's a key point about the kettlebell swing. Now, foot placement is obviously an important aspect of the swing. About hip widths apart, maybe a little wider, just depends. The key is that you want to have room for the kettlebell to go through your knees. As your kettlebells get heavier and the bell gets bigger, you might have to widen your stance. Toes, some people will teach toes forward because toes forward is that nice natural position. But as you widen your feet a little bit, sometimes it's easier to have your toes pointed out a little bit, 5-10 degrees. And you'll just want to work on figuring out the perfect stance for yourself. So, we've covered the top position, we've covered how to hinge. Now we need to cover how to set up the kettlebell and start this swing. So what I'm going to show you is basically what they call a dead stop swing. So it's basically one rep, right? Actually, before we get to that, I'm going to just show you the hiking the kettlebell between your legs, because that's the thing. So when you set up the kettlebell, you want to be 12, 16, 18 inches behind the kettlebell. That distance is going to depend, again, on your proportions, right? Again, you take your stance about your nice athletic stance. I mean, that's perfect, like that. If you just do this, that's probably where your feet want to be. Hip widths apart. Find the one that works for you. I always karate chop just to remind me to push my hips back. Reach out, grab the kettlebell, sort of try and break the handle in your hands. It helps activate your lats. Try to just break the handle in your hands and then just look up, hike it between your legs, let it come out, and just do that again. Hike between your legs, let it swing forward, and you just learn how to hold this position here. Hike between your legs, let the bell come out, hold that position, and do that a few times. That hiking. The hiking between your legs, and then when you're ready, hike between your legs and stand up, boom. And then let the kettlebell come down. That's a dead stop swing. Reset, grab it, up, let it come down, and there you go. Now, you might be thinking, how do I let the kettlebell come down? From the top position, you remain standing for as long as you can and let your arms come as close to your body as possible before breaking at the waist. Your hands, and if you notice, my hands come between my legs above my knees. If your hands are below your knees, you don't want that. You want your hands above your knees. Boom. Boom, like that. Watch it again with a kettlebell. Dead stop. So if you practice that dead stop, you're just practicing, you're just ingraining the hike position, the standing tall position, and then the letting it go through your legs. Another key point about this is you're not trying to lift the kettlebell with your hands. It's another common mistake. What you're doing is the force of your hips is forcing your arms and kettlebells away from you, and your arms are just holding on to, are really just there to hold on to the kettlebell so it doesn't go flying out. So when you snap up, you keep your arms stay tight to your body until you've completed the hip snap and your arms come up. This hip extension, boom, like that. So watch that. you're kind of playing chicken with the kettlebell as it comes down. The longer you can wait, the better. Boom, you snap into this position, you load your butt, your hamstring, your posterior chain, stand up explosively, boom, and your arms just naturally come up. There's one implement. I'm going to use a slightly lighter kettlebell for this. I just have to grab my item. To help learn the feeling of the kettlebell moving properly, and you're not trying to lift it, is get it like a dish rag, wrap it around the handle of the kettlebell, and then grab it down low, set up the whole thing, hike it through your legs, and it's obvious that I am not lifting the kettlebell. I'm just holding on to it with the rag. If I were trying to lift it, it would be doing that, right? So using this rag, that rag technique, is a very good way to learn the proper action for the kettlebell so that you're not lifting it with your shoulders. So those are, that is a kettlebell swing in a nutshell. Again, setup is key. So your feet about hip to shoulder width apart, toes slightly outwards. The bell is 12 to 18 inches in front of you. You hinge at the waist, keeping your back straight. You grab the kettlebell, tilt it towards you, and imagine you're trying to break a stick in your hands. You just try and do that a little bit. It activates your lats here. Look up. Let the bell come to a stop when you're done with your reps, and place it down with both hands. The look up, I mentioned looking up. When you're down here, to help keep your back flat and a good posture, one cue is to almost point your chin away from you. Point your chin away from you, and that'll help lengthen your spine for this action. You don't want to do it so much that you're crooking your neck, but just enough so that you are pointing your chin away from you, and that will help keep a flat back. So there you go. That's the kettlebell swing. So what kind of weight should you be looking at for doing kettlebell swing? So Pavel recommends 12 kilograms for an average woman and 16 kilograms for an average man. I think for most people, that's a great place to start. If you're feeling like, well, I've never done this before, I really have no idea, I don't want to hurt myself, you could go to an 8 kilogram kettlebell or 10 kilogram for a woman, and you could go to a 14 or a 12 for a man. Now I only have 8, 12, and 16. I don't have 10 and 14, but they do make those sizes. So if you're a little nervous, you could go with a lighter weight. But I'll tell you, once you learn the proper technique, these weights should be fine for most people. 12 kilograms for a woman to start with, 16 kilograms for a man, and you'll be surprised. You'll move quickly up the weights in this. And it's not that you need to do heavier weights, because this great thing about the kettlebell swing is you can get a great workout using a light weight which has lower impact on your body. So there is the kettlebell swing. If you have any questions, please let me know. And thanks again for watching the video. Also, as I said, if you have questions, I will definitely get back to you. You can comment in the comments if you got questions, and I'll get back to you with the answers as best as I can. And again, my name's Henry Byer with Strong for Life, and thanks for watching the video.